All right, welcome back everyone. In the last video, we laid the groundwork to help us create new gizmos in our editor. If you've not seen that video, you can check that out right here because this video will be a direct continuation from that one. So make sure you watch that one. So in this video, we're going to create the Translate Gizmo and get that working correctly in the tile map editor. All right, so let's get started. First thing we're going to want to do is create the Translate Gizmo.h and .cpp files. So let's do that now. So close these for now. Let's go to our tools, gizmos, add new file, translate gizmo.h. Yep, add that in. And we can go pragma once, namespace, Scion editor. Cool. Good for now. Let's go back. Gizmos, add new file, translate gizmo. Apply. And we'll include translate gizmo.h, namespace. Cool. Go back to the .h file. We can close the entities. We don't need to see those. Close the CMake for now. We might have to open that again, but we'll close it for now. And then we have the gizmo.cpp and gizmo.h. We'll keep those open. Okay. So we're going to want to inherit from our gizmo that we created in the last video. Okay. And all we're going to have to do for this one is go class, translate gizmo, inherit from our gizmo class. And then we're going to want to have a public section. Translate gizmo. And then we need to override virtual void update. That takes in a struct canvas reference canvas. Now I'm doing the for declare inline. You can put it up at the top if you like, and it's going to be an override. Now we will also want to override the draw function. So virtual void draw override. And that's it. That's all the functions we're going to need for the Translate Gizmo. Everything should already be handled for us in the Gizmo class. All the heavy lifting is done here. This is just to allow us to be able to do specific functionality for the Translate Gizmo. Control KD. And let's make these functions. Create. Cool. So now that we have those definitions, let's start filling them out. We'll start with the constructor. Spread these out a little. But before we do that, let's actually do some quick includes. So we want to go include editor utilities, editor utilities. Include. We're going to need the renderer, rendering, or batch renderer. We're going to need the camera. We're going to need the registries. So include for ECS main registry, include for resources, asset manager. Let's include the core utilities as well. Want to include the entity, include for ECS entity, and the logger. And in our using namespace Scion core ECS. All right, let's get started. All we're going to want to do in the initializer list is do a gizmo. Because the way that we set this up, the default one will handle the regular gizmos that we want to use. Now, if you don't want to use the default one and you want to use your own, just remember to fill out these here, your gizmo params for your X, Y axes, and make sure that you set if this is a one axis or not. Go back here, and we're going to say init. And this takes in our two textures. Now, I added these textures already in the application. So let's go to the application.cpp down here, and we can say load editor textures. That's where I want to go. I don't remember the name of them. They are right here. So S2D, X-axis translate, and Y. So let's copy this one, go back, paste that in, paste this in, change it to Y. Cool, and that's it for the constructor. That should handle it for us. Then we want to do the update and draw function. So the first thing I want to do in the update is actually call the Gizmo update function. It takes in the canvas. This will handle setting the last mouse position for us and doing whatever the abstract tool needs to be done. Okay. Go back here. And then I want to check to see if our selected entity is equal to null. If it's equal to ENTT null or entity null, I don't want to show it. We want to hide it. Okay. And then we can just leave after that. So in the update, so we just want to go if m selected entity is equal to ENTT null. I just want to hide and then return. No need to continue. Otherwise, I'm going to show. We need to get the selected entity, the actual underlining entity. We need to get it and adjust the transform, because that's what the translate is doing. It's going to be updating our position, our transform position. So I want to go entity selected, and that's going to take in the MP registry, and we're getting that from the abstract tool, and we want the entity itself selected in. Cool. What we should do as well is or not. We're handling everything inside of our gizmo. The registry is not handling the gizmos. However, the registry does handle the selected entity. So if our registry is not valid, we shouldn't try to do this either. Okay. Then we want to get the transform. So we're going to go auto reference selected is equal to selected entity dot get component transform component. All we want to do here now is go selected and transform dot position dot x plus equals the delta change in x. So get delta x. Now we could put some type of scaling factor here, so you could have times some scaling factor. But we're not going to do that for this one right now. It will make sense to add it later, but we're going to want to make sure that our editor can support that. Definitely going to want to have it for when we're doing the scale, because you don't want to scale by 1 each time. You're probably only going to scale by a 0.1. So we'll get to that when we cross that road. For now, we'll just do this, and we'll add that functionality later. So we want to do the same thing for Y. And then I want to set the gizmo position. Because we're changing the selected transform, we also need to reset the gizmo's position. It also needs to be adjusted. So set gizmo position, and that just takes in the selected entity. And then we want to call the examine mouse position. Cool. That's it. Pretty straightforward, right? All the hard work was done in the gizmo class. That'll make us do all of our other ones really fast. Well, not necessarily really fast. We may have some bugs we still got to build. But now we have to do the draw function. Let's do that now. So I want to go auto P shader. Actually, you know what? We're probably already doing something like this in the tile tool. So let's take a look. So we have our create tile tool. Let's go to that. Let's see what the draw function is doing. Yeah, so it's doing the same thing. So we can grab all of this and this. Actually, you know what? We can just grab it all, except for that. Leave that out. Go back to the translate. Paste that in. This function doesn't exist. Cool. So now we have that. First thing I want to do is we created that batch renderer. We want to begin batch renderer. Begin. So now I want to handle the x-axis. So I go const auto reference. We don't need to change anything here. Okay, so x-axis sprite is equal to mp x-axis params, right? And const auto reference x-axis transform is equal to mp x-axis params transform. Now I want to check to see if it's hidden. So if not, x-axis sprite be hidden. Now this is just a redundant check because I'm actually going to go up here and say if be hidden or mb hidden, we're just going to return. But I'm going to put this check in here anyway. I want to make sure that we're not hidden. And then we need to add the sprite, right? So we want to go mp batch renderer, add sprite. But what do we need for that? To add the sprite, we need the sprite rec, the UV rec, the texture ID, and all that stuff, right? So let's get that now. We can go GLM vec4 x-axis transform dot position dot x. Oops. Y. Then we want the x-axis sprite dot width times x-axis transform dot scale dot x. We want to do the same for y and height. Awesome. Cool. And we want to do the same thing for the UVs. So we go GLM vec4 x-axis UVs x-axis sprite dot UVs dot U. Copy this. V width and UV height. Awesome. Then we want to get the texture. So we want to go const auto x-axis texture equal to main registry dot get asset manager get texture, and that is the x-axis sprite dot texture. Then we'll just wrap this in an if statement. So if the x-axis texture, and we'll start doing our drawing. This here should have a name. X-axis position. These. Now for the layer, I'm not really sure what layer we should do. We should probably not use a magic value here. I'm just going to use one for now. Let's just say 99, but we shouldn't have to use one. And then we want to put the identity matrix in, because we're not going to handle any of that. Oh, did I miss something? Oh, the texture ID. Silly me. So we need to get the texture ID. So P, x-axis, texture, get ID. Layer. And then the last thing will be the color. X-axis, right dot. KD. Awesome. So that's it for the x-axis. Now, with this one, we know that the y-axis is going to be valid because it's not single axis. So we can actually just copy everything here. Copy all this. And do the same thing and just change everything to y. Awesome. So I don't think I mixed. Oh, I did right there. All right. Cool. All right. And then we don't want to disable the shader yet, but we do want to go MP batch render and MP batch render. Awesome. I think that's it. Control KD. Okay, everything looks good. So we're just drawing both the axes where they need to be. And if it's hidden, we're just leaving. We got to make sure we have the shader. We should probably put errors here. Like anywhere that we're returning early, we should probably have an error. And if you want, make sure you can check to see if your axes are valid. So if they're not valid, you can check all your pointers because sometimes they might not be valid. Chances are very low in this case, but you can always add checks in if you like. Cool. From there, now we need to add the gizmo to the tool manager. So let's go into our tool manager here. And we're going to have to forward declare our gizmo. Class gizmo. Now, I'm not going to mix the two. Like you could mix the two with gizmo, with tile tool, but I'm just going to do the same idea here. So we're going to want to do something similar. And just copy this down. This is going to be a gizmo. The gizmo. Oh, I'm not sure why that's got an error. So silly. Okay. Yeah, everywhere it says gizmo type. Actually, we'll just leave it for now. And these should be map gizmos. Cool. We got our gizmos. We got our gizmo type. And we'll scroll down. See where we're getting active tool. We also want a get active gizmo. Set active gizmo type. But right here, we can go gizmo pointer. Get active gizmo. And if you want, if you really want, we can actually copy this. You don't want to deal with the tile tool and you want to handle it later on, you can actually just get the abstract tool because tile tool and gizmo both inherit from abstract tool, and then you can just do casting from there. Gets the current activated gizmo, returns a pointer to a gizmo. If activated, else returns null pointer. So get active gizmo. Cool, that should work. And we'll make this. Awesome. So we should actually, before we do that, up here, let's include our gizmo. So we have our rect tools, tool accessories. We'll do that right here. So include the editor, tools, gizmos, and then translate gizmo. All right. So we got the translate gizmo. So we had all these to do here. So we're going to want to add in our translate gizmo. So let's add in our gizmos. The only one we have right now is going to be the translate, but that's okay. Mapped gizmos dot in place. The gizmo type. Translate. STD make unique. Wait. No. And it doesn't need anything. Oh yeah. Perfect. So we can add more tools later. What do we need to do now? So in our update, we're going to have to do the same thing here, but for gizmos. Go here. Now what we could do, yeah, we can do this. Gizmos, active, gizmo, gizmos, update, gizmo. So the same idea. Now, because they're all abstract tools, if as long as everything that we're doing comes from the abstract, because update comes from the abstract tool, it would work for us. But we'll just handle it this way. I already have this working. Set tool active. So what we're going to want to do is deactivate all gizmos. So the same thing we did here. So copy this, bring this up, Get rid of this to do. Well, we keep the comment. Do this. Change this. E-type can stay. P Gizmo in map Gizmos. Change this to P Gizmo. Awesome. And set Gizmo active. So we want to do the opposite. So we can go through just like this. Copy this. So all of that can go. Change this to the Gizmo map Gizmo. Gizmo type. Gizmo. Copy this. Gizmo. Awesome. The only difference I want to do, actually, this is map Gizmos. The only difference I want to do here, I actually want to, if I'm deactivating them, I will also want to hide my Gizmos. The Gizmo hide. And then down here, where I am activating them, we want to do the opposite. So we're activating our Gizmo. And now I want to go. And if I'm deactivating here, I want to hide it. It might already be hidden, but we're going to just call hide again. Gizmo hide. Awesome. Am I missing anything else? Yes, this right here. So we're going to just do the same thing. Let's copy the whole lot. Change this to the Gizmo. This here. Gizmo. Active Gizmo. App. Gizmos. This. Gizmo. Cool. That should work for us. Oh, change. Let's just change this as well. Gizmos. Gizmo. See? Now we did a copy up here as well. Did I? Yeah, this should be Gizmo as well. Gizmo. Oops. Paste that in. Awesome. Let's build this real fast. Make sure it still builds. Okay, so we got an error. Where is Gizmo? So add that in. Anyway, if that helps. Oh, still not happy. That's all right. Before we keep going. Here, doesn't know what that is. So let's go to scene manager. And we shall include Gizmo. Editor. Tools. Gizmos. If that helps. Awesome. So that handled it for us. So we have we're forward declaring the tool manager here, right? So the scene manager has no idea what that is, what a gizmo is, so it doesn't know how to get rid of it. So we need to let it know what it is so it knows how to handle it for us. Okay, cool. And the scene manager gets us our tool manager. And we have our tool manager here. So now we actually want to go into the tile map display right here. And here, where are we doing our tools? We might as well add in our gizmo. Include editor, tools, gizmos. I could probably just do gizmo.h. And we go down. Right before we bind, let's actually grab the active gizmo. So auto p active gizmo. Because we're going to need this somewhere else as well. We're using the tool manager anywhere else here. Oh. Yep, right here. Tool manager, scene manager. We could actually probably just change tool manager. Tool manager dot get active gizmo. Then right under, because we're going to be using this later on, we're going to be using this for like picking texture. Eventually, we're going to be doing a picking texture, and we're going to need the gizmo for that. But right now, we might as well just put it up here at the top. And let's go down here right before we, or right after we do our act tool. We want to check to see if the gizmo is valid. Not tool manager. MP active gizmo. If it is, we want to call our draw. The gizmo. Awesome. And let's go down here to our update function. So we have the update. We're going to have to do the same thing here. So if we don't have an active tool, we're still going to want to do the panning and zooming. So we're going to want to copy this. And this can be tool manager. Tool manager. Now we want the active gizmo. All has that. Gizmo. And gizmo. Don't need this. Cool. I think that's everything we need to do. All we're doing is we're updating the camera, panning and zooming because we still want to be able to do that functionality. Updating our gizmo, and I think that's good. Not sure if I'm missing anything yet. Let's run it and see. Cool. Oh, nothing broke. It built. So let's load a scene. I want to set this as active. Let's run the scene just to get some stuff. Go back here, create an entity. Ah, yes, of course. So this is active right now, right? But we have no selected entity. So let's actually go to our debugger real fast. And it should stop in here. If I go here, and it didn't. Oh, it's because I'm not on it. So go back to here, come in. Nope, still didn't. So we must not have it. Anything active. Go back to here. Oh, get active. Oh, get active. Oh, stop. Try again. You guys probably saw that for sure. Scene. Load the scene. So yeah, it's not running it because we don't have a selected entity. Now we want to be able to select it when as soon as we click on this in the scene hierarchy, we want to be able to set that, right? So if we go here and put a breakpoint, it should stop Oh, it still didn't. Oh, wait. Go back. Still didn't stop there. Well, let's see. Go in. I'll return. Valid. Oh, over tile map. Yeah, so we're obviously not over the tile map window. Oh, I'm missing something. And I think I know what that is. Because this is an abstract tool function here. We go into this. This is actually from our abstract tool. So we need to be able to set this. And if we go back into our tile map display, let's stop this here. We're not actually setting this value because we're only setting it here with the active tool. And we're doing all this stuff. And all of these functions are actually abstract tool functions. What we could do is copy this and do it all over again. And that would be the quick way to handle it. Or we go back to get active tool right here. Let's go back to the H file. And like I said before, we can say abstract tool pointer get active abstract or get active tool. What would be the best way? Get active tool from abstract. Now this can pass back the first tool that it gets. So here, copy this comment, paste this in, and then this gets the current activated tool, returns a pointer to a abstract tool if activated, else returns null pointer. Activated abstract. Cool. So basically, we just want to do the same thing we did in these ones. We can say if auto pointer p tool equal to get tool turn p tool. Then we can copy this, the Gizmo, get active Gizmo, or return null pointer here. Okay. So what this will do is it should only have one active at a time. You should have one tool active or a Gizmo active. These shouldn't be active at the same time. And if we fall into a circumstance where that is the case, we need to put in some validation checks or some checks to ensure that doesn't happen. Okay. So now that we have that, we can go and we can change it to this function and it should stay the same. So if we go back to our tile map display here, and all we need to do is actually change this, and it should still work as is. And then that should allow us to set that we're over the tile map window, because that was the issue that we were having. Let's run it. That's one of the issues. Okay, so it's a fail. And what? That's because we don't know what an abstract tool is, because everything is forward declared. Let's abstract tool. Try building again. Awesome, let's run it. And we should at least be able to, you'll know if it works without using a breakpoint because we'll be able to pan and zoom. So let's go in to our scene, set this active. Yes, so that's still going in. And we have no game objects. So let's make a game object. Now it didn't make any, right? Because we still need to go back to our scene hierarchy and set our game object. Okay. Now this one should be null pointer because there is no scale. And this one's blocked for now, but we're actually going to make that available. So feel free to change this to be available. If not, I'll get to that in another video. Let's go and fix this one here. We need to set the actor now, or not the actor, the game object or entity. Cool. So let's close this. So the way I want to handle that is actually in the tool manager. And we'll go to the tool manager here. And with all the gizmos, might as well just do it here. We'll do it at the bottom. We'll do it down here. We'll say void set selected. And that's going to take in the entity. Cool. And all I want to do, so do we not know what an entity is? Must not include ENTT entity or ENTT.h. Cool, go back in. All right. So all I want to do here is loop through all of our gizmos and set the entity. So if you ever switch the entity, it's going to automatically switch it for all tools. So if you have any tool available, it'll always have the right entity. Okay. For auto reference E gizmo or E type E gizmo M map gizmos E gizmo set selected entity. That's it. So that's setting the entity. Great. So now we have our tool manager. And the cool thing is the scene manager has access to the tool manager and the scene hierarchy has access to the scene manager. So let's go to the scene hierarchy display.cpp. All right. And then down here, bang, where we're setting the selected entity here. We also want to set tool here. And sure. Oh, it doesn't know what the tool manager is, so we need to include that. And right here is good. Include editor slash tools tool manager H. Awesome. Down. Where's that? Tool manager dot set selected as entity dot get build. All right, it's happy. Now for all the marbles, let's see if this works. Okay, so scenes. Pull our scene. Let's run the scene. So we have all of our assets. Let's select this, translate, create an entity, select the entity, and it still didn't work for us. That's fine. Ah, cool. So it tried, but we have an error. Now, I wonder if you guys can figure this out. So the problem is our camera is not set. Here, so I'm trying to draw my gizmos. I was trying to draw. But my camera is null. So I said the chances of that happening were low. Well, it wasn't low because we forgot when we changed the scene to set it for all tools, right? We never set these values for all tools. Now, we did make that handy function that I believe that we can use as well to help us out. Cool. So let's go up. Where are we? No, we need to go back to, let's actually stop this and go to our tile map display. And I believe we have a function for loading the new scene. Load new scene. Right? And here we're calling setup tools. Now, we're not doing everything that we could be doing here. Let's go into the tool manager, setup tools. And what's happening there? We're not doing the gizmos, and I meant to do that. So we got to make sure that we do the gizmos as well. Okay, let's just copy this here and set up our gizmo. Keep that as type. Gizmo, copy that. Map, gizmos, gizmo setup tool. All right, that should do it for us. That's everything we need. Let's build again. And try again. Load a scene. Play the scene. Let's get an entity. Select the entity. Boom. Now these are off, and that's okay. Now we need to figure out why these values are not, this isn't where we want, but the translate is working. So we have this set, and look at here. So this is working. It's actually changing our transform. Now this is might have to do with the sprite. So let's check something here. Add a sprite component. Sprite. Okay. And width. Nope, must not. We can go to player. The player is 32. Okay. 32. Cool. Yeah, so this is the problem. So the X looks good. The X looks like it's in the middle. Let's make this guy bigger. So let's go 4. Is it respecting the scale? So it's respecting the scale. Yeah. So right now we have an offset issue with our Y, but the translate's working and it's actually allowing us to work. You see how it's changing when we go over top? Cool. Now it's allowing us to use move both. And you know what? I don't mind. We'll leave that as is. Let's figure out this offset here and why that's happening. It's probably a mistake I made. Oh, it's definitely a mistake I made, but let's check it out. And that's got to be handled in Gizmo here. I probably did something wrong. So this one's the Y. What did I do wrong here? That looks correct. Let's check out the set position. Not examine. So the Y is the issue. Oh yeah, the minus minus. I forgot to remove that. And it's funny because I left a note on the previous video about that. So that should have been there we go. Because this minus here, that one minus didn't need to be there. All right, let's run it again. Go in. Create our guy, game object. Run it, still off. But that's okay. But at least it's over more. We knew that that was doing something. Cool. So let's add in a sprite component. Cool. 32. 2. We have nothing. Run. Yeah, so that should be in the center of the player, but it's not. Okay, it's scaling with us as we move. Great. So we need to figure out why this isn't up there. So we're missing something. The offset, maybe. Okay. So the issue is actually easier than I thought. It's actually just this here. I actually don't want this to be half. I want it to be the whole thing. And that should do the trick. Bang. There we go. Oh, that's an error because we're outside of the... Outside of here, it won't let you pull it in, but that's okay. No worries. Get it inside. Boom. And it's working. That's exactly how I wanted it to be. Let's actually add a sprite just to make sure. Add a sprite. 32, 32. Let's change the scale to 4. Now you don't have to use these textures either. It's up to you, right? Like whatever you want to use. If we here, bang, there you go. Translate's working. It updates. If we go like this, we can get them both. So it shouldn't actually be able to do that, but that's okay. But that's good for now. Okay, so we did all the legwork that we need to start doing the other gizmos. So that's a challenge for you guys. I'll go over that in the next video. We'll go over the scale and the rotate in the next video. That's it for this video. As a challenge, why don't you see if you can get the scale to work and the rotate to work and get all that going as a challenge for you. Okay, but for now, this should be it. Let's actually see if it switches entities. Let's make another game object. Click on it, boom, and it worked. Cool. Drag it, and it's changing that entity. So let's add a sprite to this one. Cool. Add a sprite. 32, 2. Give it the player as well. There we got the player. So a little baby player and a big player. Put it here. Awesome. That's working for us. All right, guys, so that's it. Try out the challenge to get the scale to work and get the rotate to work. For the scale, remember, you're probably going to want to add some type of multiplier or scaling factor to it, so you're not scaling one at a time for every movement that you do. And you might want to do that for the rotate as well. Give it a shot. Let me know if you need any help or whatever. Leave a comment below. Please like and subscribe, and take it easy.